Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank the panel. I also want to thank my colleagues. I got to tell you, I came to this meeting not sure I was going to stay very long, to be perfectly honest. I thought it was going to be the typical bashing of regulators, and we hate all regulation. This has been great. This is the kind of hearing I love, and I appreciate the Chairman for calling this, and the ranking member, and all the panelists. I've learned a lot. I've listened a lot, and I have to tell you, I get amazed when I agree with pretty much everything that's been said today. That's a pretty good day. Not everything, Nick, but pretty much everything. So I just really, that's where I want to go. I want to associate myself with the comments made by all my colleagues, especially Ms. Maloney, relative to the muni bonds. The OCC really has to wake up. Muni bonds are the safest investments in the country, and if banks, any bank, can't invest in them because some regulator says that they don't hit some obscene, obscure, ridiculous little thing, that's nonsense. It is this, there are some muni bonds that may not meet that safety requirement, but very, very few. Particularly, you know, it's going to hurt municipal governments. It's going to hurt local governments all across this country to tell any bank that they can't invest in the safest thing they can. It is completely wrong. It's completely back-asswards. And I got to tell you, the Fed's kind of moving on it. If the OCC doesn't move on it, you're going to hear a lot more from us relative to that. I don't expect a comment. You guys can look at it all day long.
May I make a comment, though?
You can, but if you come up with the answer that you're not going to do it, you're going to be wrong. But go right ahead.
Well, first of all, we have not prohibited banks from investing in municipal securities.
Well, you haven't prohibited
in fact,
them. You've discouraged them significantly.
In fact, sir, the data hasn't shown that. Banks continue to invest in municipal securities.
You just did it. I mean, you only did it a couple of weeks ago.
And they continue to invest in that and supporting their local communities.
Well, good. If I believe me, I would love to be wrong, and that's okay with me. I also want to move on to some of the risk issues. My big concern when it comes to risk is some of this stuff is so complicated, you end up with a result that even small banks especially can't figure out when they're into a risky situation or not. And as you come up with these data points as to what is and what is not risky, which again, I think the discussion has been great today, exactly where the line is and where it isn't, I think it's really important that you make the calculation of risk easy enough for a relatively small community bank to make the determination that they're getting into an area that's going to require more regulation and more oversight, or to make the decision not to do it. Now, in the past, some regulators have told me, well, we're a little concerned of people gaming the regulations. So what? If they game them to not be regulated, that means they're not doing risky things, which is a good thing. I guess the last thing I want to do is I want to talk about the QM rules. I would argue that the best thing you can do for a community bank, actually I think it fits in the definition I've heard everybody say, is to encourage community banks to actually be involved in the community. You are involved in the community when you have risk involved with the community, namely holding mortgages, holding loans. And I would argue very clearly that as we go on, especially for the CFPB, that QM rules and any other rule not only allows small community banks to hold local paper, but actually rewards them for doing so. I want my local bank, and I'll be honest, I've said it publicly before, all of my cash, which isn't much, but whatever I have, all of my mortgages to the best of my ability are in local banks because I like the idea they know where my street is. They know where my neighborhood is. They know how much a house is valued. Their kids are likely to go to school with my kids, and on and on and on. But at the same time, if they can't do it, which for all intents and purposes they've been pushed out of it, especially residential mortgages, they can't be a community bank for long. And I would strongly encourage you to not just allow something, but also encourage and reward community banks to actually be involved with the community so that we can have somebody to donate to the local Little League. I don't really have a question, which I said I didn't really come with questions, but the heck, I had 5 minutes. I figured I'd use it.